Hello, it's Richard Haggerty here. How do you use trigger points and victories to become a non-smoker? Well, this is really, there's some really good news around this. And it seems on the face of it as though smoking is one of those things that's going to be really hard. It's going to be really hard to quit. There's the cravings, the constant willpower, falling off the wagon. And it looks like it can just take years of relapsing and all these choices to make. Are you going to use drugs? Are you going to use Zyban? Are you going to use patches? Are you going to use gum? Are you going to use nicotine replacement therapy? All this stuff. It's just this cognitive overload. And God forbid, are you going to go down the route of Champix or vaping to try and quit smoking cigarettes? The good news is there are different ways to do it. There are better ways to do this. There are more effective ways. I'm going to talk today about some of those, including metacognition. Now, if the traditional ways of quitting that people use, which assume that smoking is a physical addiction, but don't take into account the psychological elements, if they're traditionally making it very hard for people, if people are struggling, if smokers are staying stuck in a loop, then what is it that's going to help them to quit? What's it that's going to help you to quit much more quickly and much more easily and much more reliably? What's going to do that is going to do something different. And we want to help you to leverage the power of something called metacognition, trigger points, and pulling together the energy of a strong reason to help you quit. Okay, because we've got to learn, you've got to learn to deal with the underlying impulses and drive that's causing the smoking. Smoking is primarily not physical. It's not a physical addiction. If it was, the people who went on to nicotine replacement therapy would simply quit. Okay, they would simply not struggle. Things would work out well for them. What's driving the habit is psychological triggers. They are inner unfulfilled emotions and needs, and those are linked to certain trigger points in the day. So that's why it can be very, very useful to identify those trigger points and use them combined with metacognition, which is increased self-awareness, to be able to set up certain little victory points during the day for you. Okay, and using increased self-awareness is the way that you do this. Okay, a different form of self-awareness which is applied to observing yourself and your habits will help you change. So metacognition is the ability to become aware of awareness. It's rather than just being stuck with the way that you normally talk to yourself, the normal thinking mind. It's becoming aware of the way that you're feeling and very aware of the way that you speak to yourself. It's actually noticing that in real time as it happens. It's like a part of you being able to be aware, I can see myself here. It's 10 o'clock and I hear myself telling myself I must have a cigarette. And I notice that in the bottom of my stomach, there's this kind of feeling that sort of seems to be almost like buzzing or pulsating that I'm labeling anxiety. And that's creating this impulse for me to go and do something. This is crucial for you to change and become a non-smoker. It might seem super, super simple that you could develop an awareness of the way that you're thinking and feeling and the way that's being linked to external triggers and simply stop a habit. Okay? The reason a habit will tend to dissolve when you do this is if you think back to the classic Pavlov's experiments, the Pavlovian condition, at least in the very kind of simple form that it's typically conveyed, is that there would be it would be mealtime, and as the dogs were eating, Pavlov would ring the bell. Then later on, he would ring the bell, and the dogs would still salivate in anticipation of what's happening, because there was an external trigger that got paired in their very, very simple sort of physiology, dog physiology, canine physiology, all right? But it's the same with us and smoking, okay? And we want to break that association. There are loads and loads of ways which can break the association to smoking. All right, we work with clients to do this in 20 minutes to help them to reclaim all that energy, all that willpower that's just been wasted on trying to stop cravings, trying to have the willpower to stay off smoking, trying to work out where to go during the day, planning your whole day around where you can go smoking. This is a real waste of your life energy. Okay, so there are lots of ways to do this. But once you know that you want to make this change, it's going to be important to identify those points during the day when you typically do it. Okay. And the easiest way to do this is to write them down, because it will give you a distance from the experience. It will automatically start to enhance your ability to develop metacognition, this awareness of awareness. Writing down the trigger points during the day, the times of the day, the kind of moments maybe after a meal, in anticipation of something, when you're bored. Writing those down so that you can look at them will very, very quickly start to give you a bit of distance that may be very, very helpful in accelerating the process for you, even if you're starting this process by yourself. Remember, it's definitely helpful to get some support and have a plan in place. But because we're dealing with psychological triggers that are paired to external events, you've got to know what's triggering you on the outside and what's triggering you on the inside, so that you can be absolutely clear in your own mind when you're a non-smoker. I mean, how are you going to know when you're a non-smoker unless you can anticipate events or think about them and just have no cravings whatsoever? So what we're looking to do is to help you to get to this point, and you can get to this point where you celebrate little victories during the day. When you realize it's 10 o'clock, I noticed what was happening inside me. I was able to sit with that feeling for a moment. After about 20 or 30 seconds, that feeling passed through me. I no longer had the impulse, and I was able to just carry on what I was doing without going for a cigarette. That's how you can apply this in practice. That's how you can do it. It's as easy as becoming just a little bit more aware of what's going on. Okay? Now, of course, there are a lot of fears that people have and a lot of anxieties around this. And that's the thing that gets blown up out of proportion. What if I fail? What if I fall off? All this regret, all this shame, that needs to stop. Getting past shame, regret, embarrassment, all the times you've fallen off the wagon, it's really, really crucial. And that's where it's helpful to have some help, to have help and support. Okay, we can help you on a consultation identify your motivation, where it is that you're struggling, so that a tailored program can be put in place that works for you. Okay, and that's why we can help people in as little as 20 minutes and in a single session to quit smoking, because there are unique challenges that you have. There are some unique inner needs that are being brought up, and there are some unique fears, and there are some unique beliefs that have been programmed into you by the whole kind of, shall we say, smoking community. And you want to move past those, and you can do that to become a non-smoker. The key thing is this: don't leave it to chance, all right? If you're struggling to find points of victory during the day, if you're struggling to notice when you're smoking, if it's happening so quickly that you can't even notice what's the feeling inside that's driving you, if you're totally confused why you're doing it, but you just know that you want to quit, that's when you want to look externally. You want to find someone who can help you, a stop smoking expert, who can help you put a plan in place that's going to help you to quit smoking. Okay, don't leave it to chance, because then things will just roll over the same, and you just oscillate between these struggles. Sometimes for years people go through this process, okay, or they spend years worrying and counting. Oh, it's been 100 days, genuinely fearful inside themselves that it might not last. You can be a non-smoker. Make a decision, and if you need help, reach out now.